The internet is like alcohol. If you want to be a loner, you can be more alone. And if you want to connect, it makes you easier to connect. Yes, it is something like a neurons in a giant brain. The internet was crucial for our success. It's a great thing. It is a big democracy because people can choose whatever they want. So, with this statement, we shall start this session of History of Internet. So, the internet has brought an unparalleled revolution in communication world like never before. The invention of telegraph, telephone, radio, and computer set the stage for this unprecedented integration of capabilities. The internet represents one of the most successful examples of the benefit for sustained investment and commitment to the research and development of information infrastructure. As you might expect, for a technology so expensive and ever-changing, it is impossible to credit the invention of internet to a single person. The internet was the work of a dozen of scientists, programmers, and engineers who have developed new features and technology that eventually merged to become a internet. Long before the technology existed, many scientists had already anticipated the existence of worldwide networks of information. Nikola Tesla came with an idea of a world wireless system in the early 90s. Still, the first practical plan for the internet would not come until the early 1960s. Hello and welcome to Odisha State Open University, Sambalpur. I am going to discuss about history of internet. The Cold War was in full swing in 1950s and the US military was worried about the Soviet Union's growing scientific powerness and attacking from space and destroying the US long-distance communication network. In February 7, 1958, US Secretary of Defense signed a document, that is Department of Defense Directive, and launched the Advanced Research Project Agency, which is called ARPA. That time, the existing national defense of US relied on telephone lines and wire that were vulnerable to damage. In 1962, J.C.R. Likender, a scientist from MIT, first suggested connecting computers to keep a communication network active in the US in the event of nuclear attack and named Intergalactic Network of Computers. Shortly thereafter, computer scientists developed the concept of packet switching, a method for effectively transmitting electronic data that would later become one of the major building blocks of internet. The first workable prototype of internet came in later 1960 with the creation of ARPANET, that is Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, originally funded by the US Department of Defense. ARPANET used packet switching to allow multiple computers to communicate with one another. In 1966, Robert Kahn moved over the Department of Advanced Research Project Agency and developed his plan for ARPANET. In 1st January 1983, ARPANET adopts TCP/IP model and separated out the military network and assigned a subset for public network, which is named National Science Foundation Network or NSF-NET. In 1985, engineers designed it to connect different departments of the university in US. The Stanford University network was the first local area network connecting distinct workstations, and from there, researchers began to assemble the network of networks that becomes the modern Internet. The National Science Foundation Network, or NFSNet, eventually becomes a linked resource for the 5 supercomputing centers across the US, connecting resources to regional networks and then onto nearly 200 networks. NFSNet took on the role of Internet backbone across the US, with ARPANET gradually phased out in 1990. In 1989, a major step was taken in the Internet communication. In India, Internet service started on 15th August 1995 through a government organization called BSNL. But by 2018, many private Internet service provider or ISP like Airtel, Reliance, Sifi, Tata or Reliance Jio have also been allowed to provide Internet service. So Mosaic web browser was the first web browser that is capable to show images along with the text. And it offers many other GUI norms we have come to expect today, like web browsers, URL address bar, back button, forward button, reload option for reviewing web pages. Later, it becomes the Netscape browser, which was the most popular browser in the mid-1990s. For that reason, Berners-Lee was considered as the father of World Wide Web. Eventually, NSF allowed different commercial organizations to use Internet by 1995. In 1993, the first World Wide Web search engine called W3 Catalog was introduced. In 1994, first Internet ordering system created by Pizza Hut. Possibly, it was the first transaction on the web. In the same year, the first Internet banking system was launched, which was called First Virtual. In 1995, registration of domain is no longer free. NSF sells domains for $50 annual fees. In 1998, Google opened its first office in US. In 2006, Google CEO of that time introduced the term cloud computing at the industry conference. In 2010, the number of registered domain reaches 200 million and 4G wireless network launches in US. In 2011, the number of internet users reached to 2 billion. Earlier, internet was used by computer experts, engineers, scientists, and librarians. There was nothing friendly about it. There was no home or office or personal computer in those days, and anyone who needed, whether a computer professional or an engineer or a scientist or librarian, had to learn to use a very complex system. Later on, many universities were allowed to join this network and share the information. This was the beginning of networking of computers, which grew bigger day by day and gave birth to Internet, the technology which has changed our life. Most of the time, we use the word web and Internet interchangeably, but there is a basic difference between these two. The basic difference is the web is the mind, whereas the Internet is brain. Explore the Internet and you will find cables and computers, which is called Internet. Whereas if you explore the web, you find information in the form of website and hyperlinks. So this is what all about the history of Internet. Thank you.